Hello and welcome to Metalcast from Metal Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we're here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that's technology. And it's even better when you bring technology into construction. So we have our expert today on Marco Francisco, talking about what all-weather insulated panels are doing to bring it all together. Technology, visualizer, the awesome insulated metal panels. So Marco, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Heidi.
Ah,
Very,
I'm
very glad to
just
be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Let's start out with an introduction. So if you could introduce yourself and tell us about what you do with a whip and also a little bit about all-weather insulated panels.
Sure thing. My name is Marco Francisco. As Heidi mentioned, I'm the Director of Digital Construction at AWIP. I've been in IMPs for over 15 years and engineering and construction overall, about 20 years. Time flies. I
Wow,
remember
it
when I
does.
was like the,
It
the, the new
does.
guy. Uh, so my team creates digital tools and that connect BIM, visualization, AI, and product information to help make insulated metal panel systems easier to understand, coordinate, and use on real projects. My work is focused on connecting our construction expertise with digital tools that make our systems easier for customers and project teams to understand, coordinate, and apply. That fits into a broader shift in the built environment where teams are moving from mostly 2D information towards more connected 3D workflows. I'm sure you've seen that. So
Yes.
with BIM and AI helping bring the model, the data, and project context all together in more useful ways.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast technology is moving and changing right now, changing everything we've known for years. And now we're looking at it in different ways. But before we hop into that, let's just remind everybody, if you don't mind, can you kind of talk to everybody about what are insulated metal panels?
Sure thing. So insulated metal panels, IMPs, they're a complete building envelope system in one product. They combine exterior and interior metal skins with an insulated core. You'll hear it sometimes called sandwich panels. It's literally what it is. It's metal, foam, and metal.
Yeah.
So you get the structure, the insulation, the weather protection, all working together in one panel. They serve as wall, roof, and roof deck systems. They provide thermal efficiency, air and moisture control, and they simplify construction by replacing multiple layers with a single installed system. That's a big part of why they're used so often in commercial and in industrial buildings. They help speed up construction, improve energy performance, and create clean, durable exterior systems.
And we are just watching the metal industry grow so substantially. I mean, from metal buildings to rehabs, restoration of old buildings and bringing in IMPs. I mean, it's beautiful and it is so pretty as it comes through. But I think that's a big part of what I'm excited for you to talk about is how you developed through your team and the digital team on how you developed the software in order for people to start visualizing this. And Glimpse XR, right, is the
Yes.
magic. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure thing. So the idea behind Glimpse XR really came from something we see all the time. IMP systems, like I mentioned before, they're powerful, but they can be hard to fully picture from a drawing or a PDF alone. So what we built also comes directly from what customers tell us they need. So we kind of live on that feedback loop, or where they're running into challenges. So the tool is really shaped by real feedback from people using systems on these projects. So contractors, architects, builders are often trying to understand how panels, colors, details, technical information, how they all come together. Glimpse XR gives them a more visual and practical way to do that. Instead of making them piece everything together from separate documents, it brings several things into place. So interactive 3D environments of common IMP applications, real-time color and system exploration. And the next version of this, we hope to do different panels in there as well for further visualization. And then we embed the technical documentation and the BIM content in there as well. So for us, it helps close the gap between selecting a system and really understanding how the system will look and perform and be used on a project.
And I mean, that's really important when you're working with architects, with builders, building owners. They want to know what it's going to look like, and to be able to show them this 3D model, um, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Um, as you're kind of looking, let's talk a little, and that's where I kind of want to take this. Let's look at that a little bit more because this interactive 3D building visualizer, you know, I think general contractors, right? The big guys out and gals out there have been using BIM for a long time. Have been
Yes.
using all of a lot of that stuff. But when you start getting into the more sub trades, whether it's cladding, roofing, exterior building envelope, all of those different things, they aren't used to that as much. It's starting to become everything. So talk to me just a little bit about how contractors, metal contractors can kind of use that interactive 3D building model, or building visualizer, I guess I should call it, to kind of start not only understanding it themselves, but also to help open communications with with the general contractor and with the building owners, if they're in at that level.
Oh yeah, I think you definitely nailed it with everything you said there. So, Glimpse XR, we like to call it a virtual showroom. It's a great term for it. So, a
Yeah.
3D visualizer, as you mentioned, it helps because it lets contractors see the system as a whole, not just a series of individual details. I'm sure I'll touch on Glimpse 3D at some point as well.
Yeah.
But the context matters, especially when you're thinking through how how a wall, a roof, a deck system, how they all relate to each other. But instead of relying on interpretations, the teams can navigate full building systems in context. You can understand transitions, connections, and sequencing. Again, that's where the Glimpse 3D comes into play. You can identify potential issues before construction. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Is kind of putting that early work and making that work for you. It doesn't replace the technical review. I say that as a civil engineer, it's a very important thing,
Yeah.
but it gives teams a better starting point and helps them catch questions earlier before they become field issues.
Yeah, again, and I'm going to kind of go back. How are you working with your contractors who maybe haven't been at this level, right? And now we know the design community, the general contractors, they're all at this level. So how are you helping them, move from product sheets and static drawings to really using this technology?
So you mentioned BIM earlier. Totally on board. It was like a buzzword for over a decade, right? And then
Yeah.
now it's here and it's here to stay, and it's great. You're getting like these digital twins. All these great things are coming into play. As far as comparing things with static drawings and product sheets, I'd say the biggest difference is that the information it's easier to interact with. So product sheets and details are still important, like I mentioned before, but they can feel disconnected from the actual like building experience, right?
Hmm.
So Glimpse XR, someone can swap colors instantly. You get a nice visual from it. You can click on the product and data and technical documents. So for the users, it's right on the front page of our website. Get in there, you'll notice that the buildings there's these hotspots that you click into, and those are tied to product data, technical documents. So you have the traditional stuff kind of still built in there as well.
Yeah.
You can explore systems in real world context. So overall, that makes the process feel more hands on. People can see options, ask better questions, and make decisions with a little more clarity. And since, like I mentioned, Glimpse XR still links back to the 2D drawings, details, and product data sheets, the user gets the best of both worlds, I like to say. So it's an
Yeah.
interactive way to understand the system with the technical information they still need right there, like when they need it, and easily accessible through those hotspots.
That's so cool. So, and you were talking earlier, you said, we'll get to Glimpse XR 3D. Talk to us a little bit about that. How, really going from that 2D to that 3D, and I mean, just a whole new world.
So sure. So Glimpse XR, the great thing about it is we built a platform to kind of try to capture everything. So when you're in there, there's augmented reality models. There's Glimpse 3D, like I mentioned before, and then all the BIM downloads. All of our BIM objects are there as well. So nice one-stop shop. You hop in there, you see what the building looks like, and you can kind of access everything that you need to. So they help by giving everyone a clear visual reference. So on projects, people often come at the same issue from different perspectives.
Right.
You mentioned different trades. general contractors, the owner might be thinking about it, appearance. The architect might be thinking about the design intent. The contractor might be thinking about constructability, right?
Yeah.
So the AR models help teams visualize panels in real space if you want to opt for that. Glimpse 3 is one of our early BIM tools that we created a while back, and I can go into a whole other session about that. But what that basically does is it shows sequencing and assembly behavior. So imagine
Okay.
tying that into these built buildings. Now you have a real understanding. You know, it's almost like a mini installation guide for each one of your details. And then the
Wow.
BIM downloads, it integrates directly into the project model. So all of our stuff's kind of out there, readily accessible for the end user. So when everyone can look at the same visual information, it becomes easier to have a productive conversation. It helps reduce confusion and keeps discussion focused on the actual system, not just different,
Yeah.
I don't know, interpretations of it, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it does make sense because you've got a lot of different people at the table who you're talking to, at any time. Architects, building envelope consultants, owners possibly, general contractors, and not just the siding or the cladding contractors or the waterproofing contractors. You also have all the other trades. So this can really kind of help in that coordination. Let's talk about, I just want to talk just a little bit more about that when it comes to other trades, because the electricians are running and that's running through the walls. And I know there's some m- movement changes, but talk to us just a little bit about that overall coordination.
So sure thing. So as far as like construction workflows, again, going back to BIM and digital twins and all the trades working together, IFCs, being platform agnostic, it's all the industry's really shifted to working together, which is great, right?
Yeah.
I
Love
think the biggest impact is earlier in the project, like I mentioned, when teams are still making decisions and trying to understand the right approach. So, if you want to think of it from like specifications, getting a clearer understanding of available systems. That's why we have those different buildings. There's 8 different common IMP buildings built on there. For estimating, I used to run the estimating team for AWA. Better alignment with actual assemblies.
it.
Pre-construction is important. Fewer
Yeah.
assumptions about connections and details. Everything goes faster, less chance of mistakes. And then installation planning, improved sequencing and coordination. That's kind of the heart of Glimpse 3D and Glimpse XR. So what it really comes down to is the more clarity you can provide up front, the easier it is for teams to coordinate and plan before they get into the field. It doesn't eliminate every challenge, we get that, but it can help reduce the surprises and create a smoother process. As you know, you're talking to people in the field, those surprises, they can be killers for
Yeah.
projects, right? Something pops up, you're moving a wall, you're moving a pipe, and all of a sudden it's X amount of extra dollars. You want to avoid that early on as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So, okay, you said a couple times digital twins. And I think I'm kind of guessing most of our audience knows what BIM is as one of the more long-standing technologies within the building construction. But can you just share a little bit what digital twins are? Because I'm not sure everybody really understands that.
So digital twins in a nutshell, and it's used different ways, but in a nutshell, it's creating the 3D model, or creating a building in the 3D space where all the different trades and subcontractors are working in. So we like to think of it as kind of making the mistakes in kind of the digital platform before you get it out into the built environment. That's what, yeah, it's literally
Oh,
a digital twin of your project.
okay.
Yeah.
And so you're able to try out things, do things on this twin without it really affecting the building overall. And especially when you
Yeah.
come to smart buildings and such as that, there's probably a lot going on in that direction.
Yeah, like their clash detection is the biggest one, which is why a lot of the bigger general contractors and the owners, they'll want all the trades working kind of in a master model. Bring everything in there, see what doesn't work kind of in that digital space before we roll things out into the real world, right?
And start putting it up and start putting it out there and then have problems.
Yes.
Um, so, okay, for for our rectors out there, this makes a lot of sense. Talk to me a little bit about what you're hearing from those contractors and, where they're seeing the biggest impact on the metal construction workflows from, at specifications, estimating, installation. There's so much. What are you hearing back from your contractors on how this is working for them and how it's helping them really have a smoother process as they're installing the IMPs?
Great. So as far as Glimpse XR, it's still brand new to this space. It's only been launched fairly recently, but Glimpse 3D has been around for a little while.
Okay.
And the nice thing about that is when we were doing the original promotion, we had an idea. Here it is. The sequencing tool, this installation tool, this visualization tool for your different connection details. We approached different customers with it first. We kind of showed them first, hey, how do you like this? And the way it was received, it was received very well, Heidi, which is great.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
much so that we started integrating it into our quote unquote kind of traditional processes. So where you'd have a set of shop drawings, for example, we would put QR codes or digital links in there where the person would click onto, let's say you have a 2D detail of something, you'd click and you'd have your 3D pair to that. So um, building on that, kind of the next step was okay. I have kind of these different details on the website. I kind of understand how to get there and how to use them. How do I bring it back into now a complete building system? And
Mm,
that's where Glimpse XR is. Now you're approaching it from a whole like built building perspective, and
yeah.
like I mentioned, touching it back to those hotspots where you're taking that and then you're kind of drilling down into the individual details with the Glimpse 3D.
That is just so interesting. Okay, I mean, knowing that you've had Glimpse now, with Glimpse XR, kind of that next level. But what talk to me a little bit about the estimating and sales process, because it just seems like this would be so powerful in that sales process to be able to show people exactly what is. I mean, I know it's great for communication between the trades and everybody understanding IMPs and stuff, but there's a real strong sales presence there too.
Oh, sure. And a lot of this came back and touching back to your previous question there. A lot of this came back from the salespeople's feedback. Having their customers kind of come to them and then filtering that down to the digital team. So the nice thing about BIM and modeling and all this stuff is you can use it for different things. So one of the things we haven't really touched on is we like to do render packages for our clients as well. It's another thing that we use to kind of set ourselves apart
Yeah,
from other IMP companies. Is we'll create renders so that people can actually see what our panels look like on their specific project. So think of it
nice.
as Glimpse XR, but more, I guess, project specific.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll use it from a sales perspective with that. Now for estimating, since you brought that up, again, the nice thing about the modeling too is you can build so much intelligence into these models, including scheduling information, including pricing information. So if you think, hey, the old um, excuse was, well, it takes longer to model than to draw. My
Yeah,
pushback was always, no, if you have a nice enough template, you go just as fast. But look, now you can add in schedules, timelines, estimating stuff. And with some of these platforms, like most of these platforms too, a lot of the changes are instant, Heidi. So if I knock down a wall and there's pricing information for that wall, now my costing schedule updates alongside that wall. So again, the industry's it's just trending in the right direction.
yeah, yeah. Talk to me just a little bit because what you just said there just kind of really made me think. As contractors are installing, so say you've got your panels installed one side of the building, or maybe so many stories up. The section that you were going to do, how is that then translated back into the BIM model and back into Glimpse to be able to continue to communicate? Sometimes it might be the building owner, like, how much process have we got done? Because, I just think of contractors taking pictures, sending in a report, doing all that kind of stuff. How does this help in that communication?
So sure thing. And like I mentioned, a lot of the stuff we do is we try to handle all that stuff kind of on the front end, right? Because we are a product, a building product manufacturer. So
Right.
we're not always involved in kind of the actual installation procedure. So we have to get a lot of things right on the front end.
Yeah.
So again, having everything complete and done in the model is super important. Running those class detections and helping our clients out with that is super important. Like kind of circling back to just what I said there originally, it's getting everything that we can get right before the process starts is what what how we can directly affect these projects.
Yeah. And then as the project goes, just good communication and updating the
Exactly.
model
Exactly.
and making sure that's updated and where everything is going. Um, as you are seeing, I mean, I love your position, right, where you're at and what you're doing, digital products for the construction industry and for IMPs, obviously, specifically. But talk to us just a little bit about your role. I mean, how is this prioritized? How do you I mean, is this coming from sales, from contractors, from architects? What are you as all weather panels is looking all weather insulated panels, forgive me, um is looking at what technologies, what to work on next? I would just love a little insight on how that's determined.
So sure thing. Yeah, it sounds like more kind of the overall digital innovation that all weather provides. Right. So the fun thing about my job, Heidi, is it's never the same. It's funny because for the first several years of my career, being a civil engineer was repetitive, and it was important to kind of have that cadence. But as I transitioned into kind of this different space and more the innovation space, you know, I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't exciting.
Yeah.
So the main thing I'd want listeners to know from an all-weather perspective, digital innovation perspective, is AWIP is using digital innovation to make insulated systems more approachable, right? Kind of brought that up a couple times here already. So
Right.
IMPs are a great solution, but we know they can be complex when someone's first evaluating or coordinating them on a project. So we develop tools. My team develops tools to make IMPs easier to understand, easier to specify, easier to install. That's kind of what my goal is.
Yeah.
Glimpse XR is one part of a larger effort, along with, like we talked about already, BIM content and model access, AI enhanced tools, visualization platforms connected to real project workflows. So my goal is to give customers better tools and better information so they can feel more comfortable with the systems and make decisions that support a successful project. And I'd say more broadly, the construction industry and built environment are continuing to move, like I mentioned, from that mostly 2D information towards 3D and connected ways of working. Everyone's trying to do things faster and make better decisions earlier, which is why that's where a lot of the AI effort is focused. Like we're all becoming like vibe coders all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the heart of it all is that connected information. That's always been one of the main ideas behind BIM. Bringing the model, the data, the project context all together in a way that people can actually use. So I'd say that's where a lot of our efforts are focused.
Yeah, that's that I love that. And we always in the numerous companies I've worked for, technology companies such, we always called it contractor driven, right? But really customer driven on what is going to make sense because you want this type of durable product just because it's the best choice. Not everybody can understand the bigger picture of how the installation work, what it's gonna look like, how it's gonna go, and you're seeing as you are bringing this in, all the digital innovations, um, you also how much of it is in the field and out working with contractors and the installation? Then do you do because you kinda said this at the beginning, I'm a little curious, do you do also product innovations and just kind of looking at that part of it too, the, internal digital, innovations to help the company?
Oh, for sure. It's all tied together. We have a full on R&D department. We have somebody that manages the installation process. Like I mentioned, the whole sales team, the business development manager, all that feedback all comes together. And I guess the nice thing is digital helps tie all those things together.
Yeah, yeah. So it starts in the factory. It starts there and continues to grow until you have this beautiful building.
Yeah, it's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always like that. So what's your advice to contractors, to metal erectors out there, metal building envelope contractors who maybe are just focused on the building envelope, not the whole building? Um, what is your advice on how they can start incorporating Glimpse XR? And if they're not already, which I find it hard to believe, but if they're not using IMPs, what is, the combination of this the type of product and the technology that goes with it, what's some of your advice to them about getting started?
So as far as IMPs, like I mentioned, one of our things was to kind of knock down those barriers. If you're new to it, here it is. Here's all this information. Here's what you can use it for. Here's projects we've done it on before. We have all the technical information to back everything up. As far as using the tools themselves, really it's things like this that help kind of broadcast to the world that this stuff is ready. Because, like I mentioned, once people see it and use it, I think they really fall in love with it, right? So,
Yeah.
Glimpse 3D, for example, there's a little video on there that takes like 4 minutes, and what I tell people that I'm onboarding, internal and external, is watch the video. 4 minutes later, you're an expert. Same thing with Glimpse XR. The best way to go about it is just to get in there, start playing with it, get familiar with it. And we're AWIP is all about feedback, all about making things easier for the clients. So if there's any questions at all, like reach out to my team, reach out to our sales or marketing, reach out to me directly, and I'll kind of help point you in the right direction. But again, it's one of those like just dive in, just dive
Yeah.
in.
Just dive in. And you know what? And this is gonna be one of my last questions, but with the advent of AI and everything that's happening right now with AI, it's kind of a little bit the same way. You kind of have to dive in, but be aware and be aware of risks. So how much do you see AI changing and continuing to grow what you're doing with Glimpse XR and all of your digital tech innovations?
I mean, that's a great question. That's been one of my kind of major projects for this year, is helping drive the company's AI usage, but doing it in a safe way, a responsible
Right.
way. Right? But as far as how it can change the future, I mean, where hasn't it changed already,
I
right? So
know. I know.
I think the next step for these, honestly, is going to be like an AI assistant button that helps kind of move everything and bring everything together. So I'd say, to kind of entice audience for kind of future stuff, is stay tuned in this space. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of AI stuff there, but even with the big players like Autodesk and Microsoft, they're doing all their stuff to integrate AI into their tools too. So it's going to be us doing kind of something similar, but also incorporating all of the stuff that's already out there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. And I know there's tons of trade shows. And just, I mean, I think Esri was just this last week. Autodesk has their big um, push. There's obviously at the architectural show that just happened in June. So lots of places where you can go and get on this. But you want to start with all weather insulated panels and talking to them about, because take it in bite-sized pieces. That's the best way to go. So be sure to check out the AWEB or the all weather insulated panels directory on Metal Coffee Shop. You can get all this information there, plus articles, different videos, all the different things that Marco has been talking about. You can find on the directory. So, Marco, thank you so much. What great information as always. I love this stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is fantastic.
So fun. So fun. Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Thank you. Please, like I said, check out the directory for all weather insulated panels. Check out this technology, because I hate to tell you, but if you're not using it, someone else is. And that is the differentiator that you need for your business, especially in these crazy times. You want to be the one who has all the stuff that everyone's looking for. So technology, front and center. Please check it out. Check out all of our podcasts under the Read, Listen, Watch navigation. Be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Metalcast.
Ready to raise the metal roof? Subscribe to Metalcast now and stay tuned for all things metal roofing. Go to metalcoffeeshop.com to learn more. Rock on, and we'll catch you on the next episode.